Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jam Yearbook version 2008. On the Jam Yearbook, we take a semi-deep dive into a single year of music. We reminisce about the music we enjoyed from that year, share any new discoveries with each other, and sometimes go down some music rabbit holes Jim wishes I hadn't.
No.
We don't claim to be music experts. We just enjoy talking about music. I'm Matt, and I'm here with my good friend Jim. What do you have to say for yourself, Jim?
It's great to be here today, and we're happy everybody's tuned in. Tuned in, actually. Is that what people do anymore? Do they tune in?
I like that. Well, yeah. I mean, it's an old radio expression. Let's not lose that.
All right.
It's accurate. You know, people are making a choice.
That's true. That's
true. It just doesn't just pop up like a...
They're deciding, so they're picking. It might not be a frequency anymore, but here we are.
Exactly.
All together again.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of choices, 2008 was yours. Anything special here?
I had a couple of motives. After 1977, I thought we might find ourselves burning through big years too early. Not to say that 2008 wasn't a big year in its own way or your way, but by the time we get to next year, when we pull into 2022 into the mix, we'll have 23 years of the 2000s to cover alone. We've already passed by 2 years in the 70s and the 80s. So I was just trying to even things up a bit, I guess. Also, let's paint this podcast with broad strokes. This time warping thing has made it personally fun for me.
Yeah, I agree. I like the sonic whiplash. You know, the 70s, 80s, and 90s and early 2000s will be more like opening a closet you haven't in a while. Boy, you know, maybe the last 10 years or so, it's going to be like, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
So every version, I've challenged myself to open some new doors and listen to groups I never heard of, or catch up with an artist that I hadn't checked out in a while.
And he's not lying, people. He sends me messages midweek like, listen to this band and this song. And I'm just kind of like, I have no clue who this is.
But that's the fun of it for me. You know, and I'll listen to like a half an album where, you know, it depends on how bad it is. This time I challenged myself to only 2008, but I failed almost immediately. Not miserably, but almost immediately. I mean, I'm always going to miss out on an album from somebody and go, hey, what's that? You know, Smashing Pumpkins. Oh, you know, I've never listened to that before.
You probably don't want to after the 90s.
No, it wasn't good, but hey, now I know, right? I don't have to wonder.
That's true.
Yeah. Or I'm going to get curious about a band name. And this time it was We Are the Physics.
Okay.
I had never heard of them before. And I feel like I'm a magnet for Scottish bands. I started listening to them. Like, oh, this is really cool. And then I look up on Wikipedia. Hey, they're from Scotland. I'm like, geez. Well, I seem to attract it.
Scottish bands just have good names. That's one of the other reasons.
Yeah.
I know for you've connected a lot better with this year. We've talked about some of these bands previously. So I'm going to let you kind of take the lead in talking about the music today.
Okay.
But before we start, we got to talk about life and how we were living. So where were you in 2008 in Vermont? And every once in a while, I would get Matt out of hibernation. You know, here comes Dad, getting him out to go for a beer to do something. But then Matt would just disappear again for a couple of years. So what were you up to in 2008?
Well, by now I got two incredible kids. They're 6. They're at that really fun age where they keep you moving. And their new discoveries kind of become your new discoveries, and you see them through their eyes and whatever. Good. But I'm not going out regularly, you know, actually quite rarely, like you said, 2 years. And a lot of my friends are doing the same, but podcasts took that place of that circle of friends where I could find stuff and share music. Mm-hmm. I moved far away from that at this point. A lot of the alt scene was becoming like a homogenized mess of all the bands that sound the same. Nothing really stuck out. Mm-hmm. Or take 9 Inch Nails, who I used to listen to a lot. I just associate a lot of that stuff with being angry or having an overly aggressive sound. I just don't have space in that for my life right now. I don't mind fast, but just give me something more upbeat. What about you? So 2008, what's going on in your world? Where are you finding music?
It wasn't a big year for me, at least in the time. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. I think a lot, like 2002, there are some bands and artists that I discovered a few years earlier, or music at that time. And well, I like the song choices I've got at the end of this episode. More like from 2002, I'm not really connected to them the same way as I am from other songs. But in 2008, I was full on playing music in bands and in gigging mode. I probably spent 75% of my time playing, practicing, and listening to the music that I was going to go and play. And the other 25% was whatever my friends would have had on around me. Maybe a viral music video would have caught my eye now that started by 2008. But with my experience, the music was more hands-on for me than it was passive listening.
Yeah, I wasn't playing anymore at this time. I don't think I had picked it up for 4 or 5 years. When it came down, it's like, would I rather sit down and play my guitar, or would I rather put on some headphones once I got some alone time and listen, try to find stuff?
Yeah.
Because that's always, that's what I like to do. So get ready to groan, and a lot of people are gonna, and I don't blame them, because a certain faction has taken over the whole indie label. But that's a lot of what the music that I was finding, those the beards and the hats and bowling shirts and corduroy glasses, it's kind of grown in that direction of the hipster crowd, whatever that conjures up in your head.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the same guys that you find at the craft beer bar. An entire beer grooming industry developed out of the music, possibly from 2008. You're not wrong. Go take a look. It's a big fashion. Craft beer, beards, and music from 2008.
But I fell for the whole indie thing at the time. It was this big, wide open space that you really didn't know what you were going to hear next. Mm-hmm. It didn't have a big record company pushing it, and a lot of it was honest independent releases, people recording it at their house and putting it out themselves.
Yeah.
Or a small label, and you're trying your best to compete with all the stuff that's around, because there's a ton of stuff around. I can't imagine how hard it is nowadays to try to break. But it was refreshing to see people just dressing normally, not shaving. I don't shave. I hate to shave. Right? You can see. But somebody just woke up and wanted to wear a pair of chinos and a friggin' sweater, right? It's like, okay, I get it. But when it starts to look like you put a lot of effort into looking like you rolled out of bed, that's when you kind of cross the line.
So before we get into the music, because like I said, I'm going to have you kind of lead us into a lot of that. We always cover events and major deaths and things that happen in the year. 2008 was not unlike any other year, where there were some important things that went on. It wasn't huge, though. There was not a lot there that I really felt like I needed to come to the show that was a big influence in my life. Legends Bo Diddley and Mitch Mitchell passed away. If you don't know who Mitch Mitchell is, he was the drummer for Band of Gypsies with Jimi Hendrix. Very cool, influential music, and influential to a lot of drummers out of the 1960s. Richard Wright, the keyboard player for Pink Floyd, died. And we spoke about this in the 1980 episode, even though it was unfortunate. It was so early when John Bonham died, Led Zeppelin died. Well, that's what happened with Pink Floyd. When Richard Wright died, Nick Mason and David Gilmour decided that as two of them, they were not going to go on as Pink Floyd. So that was the end of that band. Even though you can see either of them tour separately and play Pink Floyd songs, you won't see a Pink Floyd tour according to them as it goes right now. So that was a big deal. The other thing that actually was kind of cool, and I'm going to actually say the name Madonna later on in this episode, but Madonna was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2008. There were some other people who were inducted. Isaac Hayes was inducted. That was cool. Dave Clark 5. But I think Madonna was probably the biggest pop star, and also maybe the most trivial, because she's maybe not really rock and roll.
Oh, yeah. But there's definitely a distinction there.
Yeah, absolutely. Material Girl is not a Ramones song.
No.
But I think that Madonna gets it, because when she got to the show, she didn't perform. She had Iggy Pop and the Stooges go up on the stage and play Ray of Light. And Iggy Pop actually starts it off. You can look it up on YouTube. This is a beautiful song. And they go into it. As the ray of light is calling. So anyway, that's the year of news in 2008. I don't have anything else for you. Sorry. Let's get on to talking about the music. Because Matt, you were in some kind of secret indie club in 2008. And you had a much better time looking back on it than I did.
the first rule of the club is not to talk about the club, Jim. Come on.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, come on.
So you'll have to shave your beard.
Oh, that's what happens if I give away the secret handshake. But yeah, there's a lot of bands that I could talk about there's like a 8-year span in these 2000s. Not all of it held up though. I'm looking at Devotchka right now. I almost had Transliterator in my top 5. And while I still think that's a good song, and this is me putting a premium on a group or artist, whatever, giving me a lot of material that I like, as opposed to just one song. While I still like that song, I'm listening to that whole album and I'm like, boy, this dude's voice is actually pretty damn annoying. And it made me think less of that song.
I gave it a shot because you mentioned it to me this week.
Yeah.
I had it on sitting in the backyard with a beer, and I had about a minute and a half into it.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, Matt.
I get it. It's like the Air Supply version of Gogol Bordello.
Yeah, there you go. That's perfect. And if anybody wants to go look that up, go ahead, because we're not putting that on the playlist.
Yeah, don't blame me, because anything past this you're doing on your own.
All right. So what else did you have?
Well, the Avett Brothers, they have been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I lump them in here because of my disconnect with pop culture. I don't really know how much in the public eye they were, but I heard them on the podcasts that I would listen to. So I kind of lumped them in here. Okay, but there will be multiple years where I bring up them because I really like a lot of their music.
Yeah. You know, you brought them up in the last show in the 2000s. Mm-hmm. There's another album to still come, which we know. So throwing their name here just makes me want to say this. Stop calling me a super fan.
When have I called you like a super
bands? Fan? Jim, you like bands. I like songs. So you keep telling me this.
No, I like bands. You like songs.
The Cure have an awful EP released in 2008. I'm just going to say, yeah. And I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you dropped the Avett Brothers, just because, I just had to call you out maybe as a possible fanboy.
Maybe, but hey, I'll bring up the Avett Brothers when they stop making music I like. You act like I brought up the Ramones again. You made me do it. You made me do it. So you didn't like that Cure album? I tried it and I didn't care for it. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but
yeah, it was a remix job once again.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I've never been a fan of their remix albums. The Cure at their best are just a band. The simple songs from the 80s were my favorite. And like I said, it's already got enough keyboard. And I also feel like Robert Smith's guitar lines are what really are the key to great Cure songs. And the remixes always seem to move the focus away from those cool melodies that he's writing.
Yeah.
So when I do finally eventually talk to you about the Cure, down the road, which is going to come in an episode, you at least have a preview of my thinking about the guitar lines and the music and that shift.
Okay.
And it's not based on Robert Smith and his singing, which is your least favorite part. What else was going on?
Fleet Foxes. They came. Oh my God. They came in with these stunning harmonies and I was just blown away. I mean, I don't like all of their songs, but I have to listen to them because those harmonies are just so damn amazing. I don't know if you've watched the only way I've seen it is on like YouTube, From the Basement.
No.
They have some songs on there that they do on that, like Sun Giant, Sun It Rises, and especially Drops in the River. Well, okay. Having them pull it off live, it sounds like they're singing in a church. It is so amazing.
Yeah, I really love this album. I only discovered it this year in January, believe it or not. I had a friend share it with me, and I'm very thankful. We haven't talked about the Beach Boys on this show because they don't really fit into anything we've been covering. And this may be my only chance to reveal that I am a fanboy of Brian Wilson.
Fanboy.
And definitely Pet Sounds. The moment this album began, on my first listen, the very first sound of those harmonies coming in, within 4 seconds, my brain went Brian Wilson.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I get that.
And I was immediately reminded of those harmony structures that he wrote for the Beach Boys on Pet Sounds and other Beach Boys records. And I went to the Google machine and I discovered that the lead singer-songwriter, Robin Pecknold, cites Brian Wilson as one of his top influences. So that made this album twice as good for me because, yeah.
So are you waiting to talk about the Beach Boys when Kokomo comes around?
Oh, screw you. Kokomo.
Because that might be the only reason too. Unfortunately, because I love the Beach Boys.
I've seen Brian Wilson perform Pet Sounds and a bunch of other Beach Boys classics.
Yeah.
They didn't play Kokomo. but I bet you, I can guarantee you it's on Mike Love's set list when he's out with the fake Beach Boys.
Guarantee it. Guarantee it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. There's definitely an album from 2008 that we've talked about before, and I know it really grabbed a hold of you.
Yep. Bon Iver's Forever Ago.
Bon Iver? You don't mean Bon Iver?
No, not Bon Iver. Are we going to have that conversation again?
No, we don't have to have that conversation, folks.
That was on another show.
I would say for the past 12 years, I walked around going, Bon Iver, and then Matt told me.
Bon Iver. So every sound on that record sticks with me. And I agree, it's not for everyone. Kim would say, that's weird. And I understand it. It's not the typical radio-friendly music. And I just happened to find the moment when it hit me late at night, having a few beers. Not my first listen, maybe my second or third listen through. I finally connected with it. Every song on that, I just love it.
Well, I know there was a time that you've spoken about where it was just right for you to listen to this album. It's great when music happens for you that way. I'm probably a little more with Kim.
I get it. Yeah.
But I think songs like this on the album can be introspective, and you need these types of songs at times in your life. Sometimes if you don't need it, you feel like the album is going over the top with the sensitivity.
Yeah.
And this is one of those albums that I can only take in small doses. I do absolutely agree that it's sonically beautiful.
Oh yeah. And and I get it. You just read the lyric sheet and you're like, what the fuck does lapping lakes like Leary Loons mean? What does that mean? Right?
I don't know.
It's like when he's recording, he just records gibberish to get the melody down, and it morphs into something that means something to him.
Probably.
But I gotta be careful of that album because I'll get hung up on it. But they've evolved. The stuff that they've put out recently is nothing like that.
Okay.
But the Avets, Fleet Foxes, Bon Iver, they've all had pretty good success, I think. So I think they maybe have kind of shed that indie label, but there's a lot that I don't know how popular are because some of them are UK bands like the Fratellis. Frightened Rabbit. If you name your band after the bad guys from the Goonies, I'm going to give it a listen and hope
the
I'm not disappointed. Like the Ramones. I did it again, Jim. They all took the last name Fratelli. So it's a fun album. It's a good rock album. Frightened Rabbit, we've talked about. Midnight Organ Fight, euphemism for sex, maybe.
I hope so.
Has it's got a lot of great songs on it. There's passionate performances on there. Maybe it was old fashioned, the popular song off that.
Unfortunately, I didn't really know much about Frightened Rabbit until after Scott Hutchinson's death.
Oh yeah, that was. I remember on the Google machine or Yahoo or something. I was scrolling through. I'm like, oh wait, he's missing. Oh no,
it was on the news here.
Yeah, that's not good. In that song "Floating in the Fourth," I mean that gives takes on a different meaning. So we already talked about death. Let's get off the depressing stuff. There's an album I have no idea why I liked so much. It's from a band called Mount Righteous.
Okay.
It's not gospel. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this a Christian band?
No, it's not. When the music starts, you remember in high school you had select choir and you had stage band. They're like the smaller population of the regular band and the regular chorus.
Yes.
It's like if you took those two groups and you mashed them together.
Okay.
There's a person with like a big bass drum. It's not a drum set, and the guy with the snare like in a marching band and all these different little instruments. But I don't know, it just hit me. I think it was Licorice Night was the first song I heard, and I got the album. Like something tells me Licorice Night is like it's like the anomaly on the album. Not everything is going to be like this. I was very wrong. Everything.
It was all bass drum, snare, choir, of course.
But it's not like uptight. It's loose. It's fun. It's silly. There's a lot of good songs on that. Like When the Child Awakes and a little more. But yeah, listen to me and you're gonna wonder what the fuck is wrong with Matt.
I'll go listen to it. What's wrong with Matt?
Or what was wrong with Matt? Right.
I thought that when you brought Bon Iver to my life.
Hey, back off. No.
Sorry.
Hey, I can laugh about it.
At least Kim will laugh at that too.
Exactly. It's not like I'm making her listen to The Cure, for fuck's sake. Okay, so you have to have heard of She and Him.
Yeah, She and Him. Yeah,
because of Zoe Deschanel. She teamed up with M. Ward. He's got a bunch of solo stuff out. He was one of this indie crowd too, Jim. Watch out, he's gonna get you.
Who is
M. Ward?
Okay.
He's the other half of She and Him. It's kind of like airy pop, alternative country music, because there's some definite country songs or sounds in there. Why do you let me stay here? That's a good song, and her voice makes it sound like it's from another era.
I love her voice.
It's so awesome. It's just not your typical voice.
No, I've got all the time in the world for her.
Yeah. Oh yeah, her voice definitely sticks out.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna say, you mentioned all the cool bands from the year so far. I think that you've actually guided us through half a Pitchfork article from 2008. Is this indie too much?
So Jim, you're on record as saying Mount Righteous is cool.
Mount Righteous is cool. How did I say that?
Because you said all these bands that I just said were the cool indie bands. I
guess so.
No, they're not. They're not.
You're the guy with the beard.
They're not. And it's only getting bigger every day. But I am marked safe from ever having read a Pitchfork article.
Okay.
That took time.
Yeah, it did. And you and I know how we both feel about reading these articles.
Yeah.
There was a time when we were kids and you could trust a review or an article from one of those magazines and go out and buy the album. It was probably pretty good. But by the time we got into the 2000s with blogs and zines and everything that was on the shelf, it's all pay to play. We know that.
Yeah. And there's just so much out there, and they're going to pick a reviewer that is favorable to the album, most likely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you remember Smash Mouth? We've talked.
I do.
We talked about
they
90s.
Suck.
Yeah, they had a couple good songs, but Greg Camp, their guitarist, he put out a.
If you like Shrek.
Yeah, if you like Shrek. No, pre-Shrek. Come on.
Okay.
But Greg Camp, their former guitarist, he put out an album called Defector, and it's got some really great songs. But good luck trying to find it anywhere.
Okay.
I think he must only sell it on his website. I think the only place I found it to stream is Spotify.
Okay, I'll take a look for it.
I don't know why it's so tricky to find, but yeah, Zombies on Parade, I really dig that song. Cat's Game, that's another one. You probably heard of Noah and the Whale.
Noah and the Whale might pop up in another year for me.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
they deserve to be talked about.
They're a good band. They're a really good band.
I know one specific memory with Noah and the Whale. I was putting in some hardwood flooring in the house, and I had one of these podcasts on my iPod hooked up to the stereo, and this song came on. And I'm like, it made me stop. Just the whistling and the and it was kind of catchy. And I actually sat there and listened to it. And I listened to hear if the guy was going to say who it was, and then I just hit rewind a couple of times. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool fucking song. So,
that's cool. Yeah.
So
they're a good band.
Yeah. It's just kind of got.
And this was kind of their start in 2008. If what I see is correct.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think they had been around for long.
Yeah. I think they were kind of new at this point. So they have some good stuff to come.
Yep. Actually, yeah, they probably only get better. Another one is The Tallest Man on Earth. Here's some more indie emo funk folk for you. I don't know how much emo it is, because these songs, if you listen to the lyrics, they're pretty dark. But this is a great album, Shallow Grave. This could be his first one. And this is actually truly indie. I mean, he records all the stuff at his house and he releases it.
Apart from the indie music that was going on then, what was going on, in 2008 that was kind of charting or bigger and making its mark for the masses, but we still kind of, you and I liked, we respected?
The Killers. I could talk about them all day. Day and Age. That's one of my favorite albums, not just of theirs, but of all time. I don't know if I could get sick of that album. I find it everything on there, it's got this like inspirational tone, where like the tones on Bon Iver are kind of like introspective and deep. These are kind of uplifting sounds.
Yep.
It's kind of like the opposite side of that coin. And they have a great concert video at Royal Albert Hall that absolutely kicks ass. Where they open up with Human, and I just love the whole crowd's into it. Just jumping, dancing, singing, having a good, the whole song.
When I saw the concert DVD, I watched it more than once when it came out. I already liked the Killers from Hot Fuss, but this concert video probably made me a really legit fan.
Oh, definitely.
Just sitting at home watching it on TV. It's that brilliant.
Weezer came out with the Red Album.
Yep.
That was probably my favorite Weezer album.
Okay.
I played it a lot. The Greatest Man That Ever Lived is one of my favorite Weezer songs. It's so unlike their other stuff, but the rest of it's classic Weezer. Dreamin', Automatic, The Angel and the One. That's a great song.
Mm-hmm.
Good songs here and there, not horrible. Just these ones are better.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's your favorite. For me, Weezer's one of those bands that peaked with their debut album and then put out albums for years that still had good songs, but never quite achieved what they did with the first album. I can still listen to the Blue Album from start to finish. No other Weezer album held up the same way like that for me. But I agree, it's not a bad album by any means of theirs. And it probably was the last one they produced that I felt like it was still 90s Weezer. Weezer do a really good job in their writing pop rock songs with great hooks.
It's what they are.
Yeah.
It's what they are.
Well, speaking of a band that wrote great rock songs, come on, 2008.
Oh, we had some really good rock bands, right? Kings of Leon.
Yeah.
They broke out with their Only by the Night. And
that was a big album in the USA.
Yeah, and Cage the Elephant's self-titled debut.
Yeah, they're a good band.
Yeah.
I enjoyed both of them. I talked to you about this a little bit. When I revisited the Kings of Leon album, I have to say there was something that I was sonically disappointed in with it. And I think it did have that big sound to me when I listened to it in 2008, but for some reason, that same sound doesn't come through to me now when I've got it on through headphones.
Mm-hmm.
The songs were cool. They still had the hooks that I enjoyed. Lose Somebody and Sex on Fire were still huge, but there was something about the sound of it that I just didn't enjoy anymore. And I didn't understand.
Yeah. We'll disconnect on this definitely, because I love their sound on this.
Yeah.
It's not the songwriting. I think the songwriting stayed the same.
I agree. It's good.
Yeah. Whoever produced it and mixed it and mastered it, I mean, they definitely matured their sound. It's less garage band sounding. And they really did a good job with Caleb Followill's voice. Because before I was kind of in a tin can and very dry, which he's got a good voice. He doesn't really need the effects, but it definitely made his voice pop a little bit more. Although I think the guitar reverb may be a little overdone. Maybe
it might be the guitar sound, and that might have been what it was for me. When I went back and listened to it, I thought this could be better. And it wasn't quite. And so that's it. Here I am sitting here on a podcast that 20 people will listen to, being like, I could have mixed the Kings of Leon album better than them.
Yeah.
But
I'm not
trying to say that. But I think sometimes I can't help but listen to a band with a producer's ear, because I've worked with bands and been in studios with them and done some mastering. And this album doesn't sound as good to me as it would now. If this album were remastered in 2022, it would be brighter. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
There you go.
No, I get it. The guitars are definitely less raw on this album. So yeah, no. And it's not to say I didn't like their earlier albums. I think I just preferred this sound.
Yeah,
that's all. So I was annoyed with Cage the Elephant at first. I was really annoyed with them. They sounded too good. Because it made me feel like, all right, there's some studio fuckery going on. What's going on? But then I would go and watch some live performances, and I'm like, they're exactly the same live. And this dude is a great front man.
Yeah. I really like this band.
Oh yeah. He won me over. He won me over.
Yeah. I covered Ain't No Rest for the Wicked with Mitch in our little run around Burlington before I moved over to Scotland. But here we go. I get to have an asshole Jim moment.
We're gonna have to get you a hat that says that.
Yeah, asshole Jim, AJ. So I'm gonna be like a nagging spouse and remember everything you said. Although keep in mind, I edit our episodes, so I hear everything you say 4 or 5 times.
So it loses its importance and you cut me out, right?
Oh no, I save it. I've got the memory bank here.
I need these raw files.
Here is proof refuting your blanket statement about talk singing. And you tried to pull it back in 2012 about Diamond Dave. But now here we are, another talk singer. And it's not Mick Jagger.
No, it's not. It's not.
So your blanket statement might be a little bit of an overstatement.
Well, see, that's what happens when you speak in hyperbole, right? You're right. Everything's an extreme or one way or the other. No, but you're right. But every rule is going to have exceptions. But I think,
or the one guy that annoys you doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And the one guy that annoys you doing it has more weight than the 100 that do it well.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
You know, right? Because our group does that talk singing, and I absolutely love those songs. Just they're entertaining. But he's not just standing there talk singing like Dave does now, right? He's all over the place. He's just this twitching live wire. He's really. I don't know how to describe it. I haven't seen anybody perform like that in a long time.
That's good. Well, what about some of the real rock, stuff like that we would have considered rock in our youth, coming out in 2008?
AC/DC put out Black Ice.
I couldn't find any metal that I liked, even though I keep looking from year to year. AC/DC, okay, so they had an album.
Yeah, Black Ice came. It was their first album in 8 years. It was really good, but everything they do, I'm always going to measure against Back in Black.
Yeah, that's going to be the case.
For good or bad, that's just going to be it. That's the measuring stick. And I did like Angus's guitar sound on it, but I wanted that Back in Black guitar sound to just, maybe if it had that exact guitar sound, I would have been like, oh, this album kicks ass. Because there's good songs. It's just, I always want Back in Black.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look how it performed in 2008.
Exactly. And I know I got a certain friend who likes to try to get me into an argument about For Those About to Rock is a better album. I'm not taking that bait. The album did well, Black Ice.
Yeah.
It was the second best-selling album worldwide in 2008.
That's crazy. AC/DC 2008 had the second best-selling album worldwide.
Yep.
When you think about the other artists that had stuff out, yeah.
Yeah. And who had the number 1 album?
Coldplay.
Your
favorite band.
You want to say. But Guns N' Roses finally released Chinese Democracy.
And it wasn't a big album. It was not the biggest album.
It wasn't.
That album cost them $13 million to make.
Oh, geez.
And it fell on its face. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure the 1,000 people that liked it.
The 1,000 people.
There's a lot of Guns N' Roses fans, and we'll get a lot of hate. But that album sucked.
Well, we won't get hate when I talk about them positively later on, even if you don't like them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's GNR.
Yeah,
I don't care.
We're gonna probably have an overplayed conversation with Matt when we go back to the 80s and 90s when it comes to the
exactly. All right, Jim. You know more about pop music. You know more about pop.
Yeah.
You talk about pop music.
Well, so in 2008, Madonna, Lady Gaga, debuted. It's odd that this album in 2008 was called The Fame, but then it re-released in 2009 with the title The Fame Monster.
Really? I did not. Why?
Yeah. It was big all over the world. It was in several countries. And Lady Gaga was a massive contributor to the electronic dance crowd. Her song Just Dance, that song was on the album. That's huge in clubs. Her songwriting is always respectful. I have nothing against anything that she has done with her songwriting. There are a lot of YouTube covers of guys like Daughtry, rough, tough guys, with acoustic guitars playing soft versions of her songs or something.
Well, because isn't that the cool thing to do? Take a harder song.
That's what it was. Right? Take that pop song and be the rock guy from Stained and make it yours.
Yeah, because I know how to emote it properly.
Yeah. But yeah, that was Lady Gaga's thing coming out in 2008.
But did you like it though?
Nah, it
Nah.
wasn't.
Yeah,
Just
I just found the whole 24/7 performance art part of it annoying. I don't care if you wear a dress made of meat. I really don't give a shit.
Hey, the meat dress didn't come up for another couple of years.
Okay.
And I do think the meat dress is what made her a global phenom. But there was a shift in pop music that was going on in 2008 that was going to lead the 2010s, because we also had Katy Perry come out in
Oh yeah, we
2008.
did.
And she did her, she kissed a girl and she liked it. To be honest, I don't dislike Katy Perry a couple of years down the line, but this album I didn't really like. I thought that song was gimmicky and it was a hot topic grab to just get some attention. Ooh, I kissed a girl, two
Being
girls
edgy.
kissing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was beyond that in 2008.
Yeah, I get it. Her first album was Christian rock. I looked that
Well, then
up.
she was kissing girls.
Yeah, exactly. She was definitely tired of not making money. So
she made a Christian album and then she went kissing some girls.
And I don't even think that was her name on the Christian album. But anyways,
I'm gonna have to go look that up.
I know people really love Katy Perry, and I don't hate her. She's got some songs on there. Well, I don't know where they are, but what albums they are.
They're not on this album. We'll talk about them later.
But it's just nothing I would. It's know me. I wouldn't seek it out. I wouldn't seek it. It's just me. My kids have, in the last few years, they've really gotten on the Kanye West bus. So I've heard a lot of 808s and Heartbreak, and I had to specifically talk to Owen because I definitely know he really loves Kanye West stuff. And and in talking to Owen, it kind of put the music in a different light. So I went back and listened to it, or not went back, I actually went and listened to the whole album for, first time ever listening to the whole thing all the way through. And that's just my ignorance. I'm not up on rap, so I don't know what people are going through and all this. But it's also a great way to connect with my kids. They listen to my stuff and I listen to their stuff, and I like to be able to talk to them about it, and they can help me understand some of the newer stuff that comes out.
Well, what's not annoying? We get to pick our 5 songs for this year.
Oh, it's annoying.
And you had a good year this year.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you, is it you first? Yeah.
Well, I picked 2008. So yeah, I get
you go first this time. So what is your first song from 2008?
Your unenjoyment is my fault. Okay, I will start with Bon Iver, Regarding Stacks. Let's get that out of the way. We've already talked
Re-Stacks. So that's Regarding Stacks.
Regarding RE. Right. The
in other words, he sent me a memo, an
email,
title of his
an email. It's the last song on the album, and it actually it kind of takes a break from the heaviness. While it's still an acoustic guitar, but it's definitely got a little bit more of an upbeat-ish tone to it. It kind of speaks about love and gambling, how those two things can kind of relate to each other. I can't believe I never heard this before. I was listening to it in my headphones, and I don't think I ever just let the song play to the end, because there's like that 8-second gap at the end that I just assume is silence, because I always turn it off after he puts down the acoustic guitar and walks away. But there's like a beat and then like a phone tone, like he's going to talk, like he's picking up the phone to call somebody. So it's like, wait, you were just kind of talking about getting over somebody. Now you're going to go make a phone call. Who's this phone call to? How you can be in that conflicted state of, I'm over you. No, I'm not. I'm over you. No, I'm not.
I'm over you. Now here's a phone call.
Yeah, exactly. All right. That's my first one. What's your first one, Jim?
My first one from 2008 is, well, we talked about it a little bit already. It is The Killer's Human. You spoke about it earlier, leading off that fantastic DVD. It's a great song. For me, my memory of this song, not only from that time, stems from when I moved here to Scotland in 2011 and 2012, and I was hosting karaoke. I would often have to sing a song or two to get other people up to sing or to start the night off. And this was always my starting song on the evening.
Okay.
It's a fantastic song. I love singing it. It just feels good. And yeah, we talk about the Killers. We love the Killers. They continue to put out great songs year after year. And this album was still within their years of peaking, in my opinion.
Awesome. I can deal with that.
So that's my number one. So what's your number two?
Frightened Rabbit, old fashioned. We've already talked about it.
Yeah.
So keep it brief.
Scottish band.
I'm a magnet for it, right? It just keeps coming up. Great song, great band. Everything works in the song. I really love that guitar part in it. Listen to it if you don't know it, and I think you'll like it. Even if you do, put it on and fall in love all over again.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and give it a listen, because outside our notes that we have in front of us, you actually made a comparison of Scott Hutchinson's voice to Robert Smith's.
I know,
which surprised me.
But and here's the thing: am I accurate? Because
that's why I really have to go back and give it a good.
Because I listened to that Cure EP that you brought up.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second, I just got done listening to Frightened Rabbit. Wait a second.
And I've got friends that are fans of both The Cure and Frightened Rabbit, so I have to go give that and see if there's a connection there. So that's cool.
Cool. So Jeb, that was my number two. What's yours?
Your number two. My number two. So I've got a bit of a story with this one. It's Weezer, Pork and Beans.
Okay.
You didn't bring up this song when we talked about the Red Album earlier, and thank you.
Weezer.
You might have been waiting for me. So in 2010, maybe, Weezer ended up being a substitute band at the Champlain Valley Fair in Burlington, Vermont. Did
you say substitute band?
Yeah, there was another band that had been booked that was supposed to play there. And about 3 weeks before that band was supposed to be there, they canceled. And Weezer was on tour going through the area, and they picked up the gig, and we were able to get tickets, no problem. I think it was a completely different style of band, so they probably offered refunds. And in Vermont, there were probably a bunch of rednecks that were like, I don't want to go see Weezer.
I paid for Zach Brown.
Yeah, exactly. so we Linda and I, we got tickets. We went to see Weezer, and we were having a good time. Rivers Cuomo loves to run around the whole audience as much as possible. I've heard about him doing this in other shows. I've only seen them once, but friends who have seen them say the same thing. He has a wireless mic, and if he's not playing guitar, he comes out and he runs up and down the aisles and sings and goes all over the place. And it's fun. He does it without security. They're always looking out for him, and he's being chased by the fans while he's doing it. So he's doing this song. I don't remember what the song was. And he's running all over the little area of the Champlain Valley grandstands. It's not that big. You've been there. But he's running all around. And he does this thing where he goes over the port-a-potty, and you can tell he's singing the song, and he's going to go in and close the door at exactly the time the song ends and the lights go down. And that's what he does. The song ends, lights goes down, and he goes into the port-a-potty and closes the door. So I'd seen him running around and kind of thought in my head, this is where he's going to wind up. And I turned to Linda and I'm like, I know what's going to happen here. I'll be right back. And I run towards the grandstands where the porta-potty is. There's a set of stairs to the side of it going up into the grandstands. And I go halfway up the stairs. Everybody else gathers down around the porta-potty. So when he opens the door, he immediately looks up, and I'm standing above him on the stairs on the porta-potty. And I reach down with my hand. He looks up at me and he grabs it, and I pull him to the top of the porta-potty, and I sit with Rivers Cuomo, and we sang Pork and Beans on top of a porta-potty at the Champlain Valley Fair together.
That's awesome.
We were like arm in arm buddies with a mic. It was the greatest concert moment I've ever had, because you think about going to shows and interacting with stars, or somebody looked at me, or I got up on stage, or this or that happened. I sat on top of a porta potty with Rivers Cuomo and sang Pork and Beans. So I can't go through 2008 and not have this song on the list.
Yeah, singing on a shitter.
Singing on a shitter. It doesn't get any better. It's a great song too, though. It was one of the last Weezer empowerment songs of Just Be Yourself, which Weezer was well known for, with this earlier material. So
that sounds like a fun memory, though.
All right, that's my number 2. Long story. Get me on to your number 3.
My number 3 is.
By the way, number 2 was on a shitter. I just had to say it.
Hold on. End scene. Let's wrap that up. Mis Amigos by Dandy Warhols. Band we haven't talked about. I do associate them more with a 90s band, even though they got a lot of albums out in the 2000s. This is a great goddamn song. The rest of the album's not that hot, but man, it's just got this catchy groove, and it's got this this na 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 thing going on that kind of makes you want to sing along. Not that it's trying to be anthemic, but it definitely is a party song that just makes you want to tap your foot, get moving, and have fun with your friends.
Yeah. I checked it out this week when you were talking about certain songs and things to go listen to. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, Dandy Warhols are one of those bands that just kind of kept going on after the 90s.
Yeah.
And it didn't really affect them. They really only had one hit. So I'm sure they were able to continue playing off of that. But their music that's come out since has been great. So, yeah.
All right, Jip. Number 3, take it away.
Number 3 for me. I'm going emo punk pop, which is not something that's normal for me. But I think this song in itself is an exception. Called 9 in the afternoon. And yes, I am going to say Panic with an exclamation point at the disco. I never understood the exclamation point. Panic at the disco. Like, what's going on with that title, that band name?
Or as we like to say, Pat D, just to make fun of it.
Oh, well, there you go. that probably makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
I really love this song. It has a lovely piano beginning. The melody is great. There are some rhythmic changes within the song that are really cool, the way that they flow back and forth. And it sounds to me like they asked George Martin from the Beatles to come in and produce the song for them.
Oh, definitely.
Because it really has that vibe with that opening piano line, the horns that go on in it. And I think we've both talked in the past about how we can't tell the difference between Panic at the Disco's lead singer or Fall Out Boy's lead singer.
Yeah, not at all.
But I think this song is one that kind of separates them from that whole sound that was going on. And it's cool. You know, a lot of these pop punk bands actually are really good. They're just within their genre and doing what they do to make money. And they probably like it. It's cool. But yeah, you know, these guys really created something that I think holds up here, you know, in 2022, as far as a good song goes.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of these bands that, you know, we're like, yeah, okay. But I can imagine getting trapped in a studio and just getting carried away with what you can accomplish. But you are dead on with George Martin with this album. I definitely got Beatles vibes off it.
Yeah.
It just, the piano at the beginning, it kind of brought up shades of the Change in a Day in the Life. Like I was going down that path, and the video, just the imagery kind of gave me the Sgt. Pepper vibe. And I'm like, oh yeah, I never took the Beatles turn to it until we talked about it. But yeah, I definitely heard that off that song.
I probably didn't buy a lot of CDs in 2008, but I bought this one. Yep. All right. So that's my number 3. We're on to number 4 for you. What is it?
My number 4 will be Victoria by Jukebox the Ghost.
Oh, this is a surprise to me. This is not on your list of, Jim, I've been listening to this week and that this week.
Yep. But like I talked about Devotchka earlier, Transliterator was going to be on my list. Like I emailed you my 5 like almost immediately. And then I listened to it and I'm like, okay, yeah, I still like it. And then I listened to the rest of the album. I'm like, no, you don't belong here. And it took me forever to find this 4th song. And I was mowing my lawn yesterday and I hit shuffle on my phone and this song came on and I'm like, oh wait. And I had to go to Wikipedia. It's like, when was this released? 2008. Winner. winner, chicken dinner. We're all set up. But this is such a great song. This is one of those, this is not emo indie. This is like a poppy Ben Folds 5.
Okay.
Just put in a guitar instead of a bass guitar. They're really good, really good. And every time this song is, and yesterday was no different, I just belt it right out like 4 times. And I saw my neighbors; they could see me. I was in earshot. If I could hear myself over my mower with those headphones on, I'm sure they did. No shame. I love this
Who
song.
cares? That's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was having fun.
That's awesome. So my number 4?
Yes, up to you.
My number 4. Well, I'm going to go back to the Fleet Foxes album. I talked about my love of Brian Wilson. I talked about that inspiration that Robin Pecknold had from him. And it starts off in the first track, but then the second track on the album is my choice for number 4, which is White Winter Hymnal. It's such a lovely, lovely acoustic rocks folk song. It's just,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's beautiful.
Who's emo now?
Oh, it's not emo. How no? Where do you get off thinking anything that was Beach Boys influenced would be emo? I would completely understand if I told you that he was like Robert Smith was his favorite, or he loved Morrissey, or something. This guy loves the Beach Boys.
Just because you were painting in a broad brush.
Okay.
You took the emo brush out of the rainbow paint can and was painting with a broad brush.
Okay, well, you go play this song to Kim, and then you go play some Bon Iver to her, and we'll find out who's emo. And she'll be like, "That sounds like a good old country band playing a song about coming down from the mountain and getting your."
I think she might think White Winter Hymnal is kind of weird too.
Yeah, it's probably. It kind of has a church music sound. It's lovely harmonies, and I'm very thankful to my friend John who introduced this album to me, and happy to pick it as one of my 5 to represent for 2008. So that's number 4 for me. You get to go last now. What is your number 5? Any surprises again?
5. Well, only because we haven't talked about it yet. And okay. I wanted to earlier, but I held back because I knew I was going to pick them for one of my songs. Elbow, Grounds for Divorce.
Oh yeah.
This is a great goddamn song. This is a great band. This is a great album. The Seldom Seen Kid. Oh, I love this album so much.
These guys, we were talking earlier about who bills here in the UK.
Yeah,
they are a main stage band here.
Oh, I would imagine.
Yeah, for the most part.
They got a lot of stuff out.
Maybe not the biggest festivals, but the little festivals that play around. They are, if it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing, they're one of the bands that are playing.
Oh yeah, no, this is a grown-up sounding band.
Yeah,
they know what they're doing. But yeah, I can't recommend this album enough. I say that quite a bit, but this is such a great album with a lot of great songs. But Grounds for the Divorce, it just comes in with his beat, boom, boom, and his such a smooth singing voice, and the way this song it builds tension, and there's a point where this piano comes in with dun, 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 and it's almost like a movie where you start feeling this tension build up, and then it lets go in the chorus with that big boom boom, and it's like, oh yeah, motherfucker, yeah, that's the shit. That's what we need. And then it pulls back, and then it builds back up, and then it releases again. And the video, it's obviously it's in a bar. The opening line is, "I've been working on a cocktail Grounds for Divorce." But when that boom comes on, he just slams his mug down on the table over and over again to the bass drum. Oh, it's such a great goddamn song.
Cool. I listened to it this week. I enjoyed it. And like I said, Elbow's big here. I've heard them quite a bit on the radio, in, playlists, or even bar tunes. They're that big here to hear, when you're out and about. Awesome. So yeah, good. So my number 5.
Your number 5, Jim.
Well, here, I'm going to supremely impress you with my 5th choice, because I'm going to pick the greatest band in the world. No, not really, but I'm really kind of embarrassed a little bit. I'm coming back for some reason in 2008 with a Coldplay song.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. What is this? I gotta fucking walk away. You're gonna fucking bring up Coldplay again?
I think Matt muted me, everybody. I
started to walk away in anger. Okay, I'll stop bringing up the Ramones. You stop bringing up Coldplay.
I do think this is where I am stopping with Coldplay in my entire life. And I told you that I struggled with 2008 and for finding songs and things that I enjoyed or what inspired me from the year. But in 2008, one of the things I distinctly remember is seeing the music video for this song.
This is a great video.
And once you even come here to the UK, you understand it even better. It actually amplifies the greatness of it, because this music video is based on what they call Punch and Judy puppets here. Punch and Judy puppets were not as big in the United States as they were. Punch and Judy reviews, shows, things like that still take place here in the UK in performances and places, and kids show up and they go watch them, and they tour schools.
Wasn't Punch and Judy stuff on Mr. Dress Up?
Yeah.
Mr. Dress Up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those Punch and Judy.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a show for two.
Yeah. But Punch and Judy it's kind of a national treasure to British folk. This song, with the music video being the band coming out as a string puppet show and performing for all the kids in the audience, and then all of a sudden, like, puffs of smoke and stage fire start going
the spinal
off.
trap treatment.
Sound guys come out and set up the amps and the microphones, like puppet sound guys and everything. And
then the stage diving.
And then at the end of the video, a string puppet helicopter comes in, and they all get in this string puppet helicopter and they fly off. It's a joyous music video.
It really is.
And it's fun. So as much as you might hate Coldplay, I would say if you've ever in your lifetime watched a music video where you turned the volume down and just kicked back and enjoyed the visual humor of it, you would still appreciate it. It's fun.
Yeah. I think the whole Coldplay, it's just the celebrity brushback, I think, is what it is. Because that's not terrible music.
They're overplayed. They became more popular than, probably was anticipated for what they were doing in their early career.
And he married Gwyneth Paltrow. So that whole celebrity marry celebrity thing, it added another layer of exposure to him, which I think people just got tired of.
They do. Do you really think the guy that wrote Yellow was going to be the biggest songwriting lead singer in the biggest band in the world? Yeah. So, and then also, I'll always say, success breeds jealousy. And a lot of the people who hate on this band are musicians and friends of mine. They see a band go out and be really loved by the rest of the world for some kind of sound that they might not necessarily understand. And so they just shit on it. and that's what happened with Coldplay. Yeah. But this is my stop. So you don't have to get up and walk away from the mic again.
Or my thing is, like, you know of a band that you like better, and you're like, oh, why can't this band be more popular?
Yeah.
But the flip side of that, oh man, if this band became more popular, then I would end up hating them. So let me just take what I want and enjoy it on my own.
But yeah, so anyway, apologies everybody. Coldplay one more time. I will stop right here because
no apologies. Yeah, but we haven't hit the year of parachutes. I'm sure Yellow will be.
There has to be something that came out.
There's gotta be something, right? Hey, if you like it, you like it. Bring it to your 5.
That's what we have to do.
So that was your 5th.
Yes.
So that brings a close to 2008.
It does.
All right, we've talked enough about Coldplay.
Yes. For this entire podcast.
For this show, you have I reserve the right to keep bringing up the Ramones. You can keep bringing up Coldplay.
I have no reason to.
That's
after
like
this.
That's like 5 mentions this show. But anyway, so you chose 2008. I'm gonna choose the next year.
Yes, and then
you can choose, and then I can choose,
and then we can choose, and we can choose. Folks, we're a little confused. Just to be honest with you, we're like, we're supposed to choose the next show right now. We're both looking at each other.
Yeah, and that's not the beer talking.
No, it's not. It's the matter of the fact that we've now gotten into quite a few shows down the line and recording and stuff. So, but I do think the next choice is yours.
Yeah, and I am going to give us, I think it's going to be a challenge for me. I don't know if it's going to be a challenge for you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a little compelled to try to give you a year that maybe you can connect with, because I think I've connected with a few more of the years that we've done so far.
Okay.
So I'm going to take us to 2021.
Ooh, last year.
We're going to have to do it sooner or later.
Yeah, we are. It's got to come through.
Right?
So.
And let's face it, I'm not going to feel guilty about new discoveries.
Let's do it while we're close to it.
every one of them is going to be a new discovery.
I had a great year in 2021, and
awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a great episode for me to bring to the show. So I think as much as you were into the 2008 episode here and everything that was going on, I tuned into, well, at least for British Scottish music that was happening. But I'm looking forward to the discussion because I was exploring music in a way that I hadn't really done in years.
Good.
Yeah, so that'll be great.
Good.
So yeah,
we'll see what rabbit holes you go down.
So it's my turn to sign off then.
Take her away, Jim.
I'm going to do it just because we don't know if it's my turn or not. We'll find out when we go back and listen. This is like a time machine, folks. We record a couple episodes ahead. We don't know what we did the last time because we listened to the episode that got released on Friday and we're all messed up.
Brought to you by beer.
Brought to you by beer. Hey, everybody. Thanks again for listening to the Jam Yearbook. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. We have 2021 coming up, and then I do believe after that, we are going to have our 10th episode. So we'll try to do something grand for you for that. If you've taken a look, we've talked about it in the earlier episodes. There's a playlist that we're going to post on the Jam Yearbook Facebook page. If you want to go have a look, it's on Spotify. So if you have a chance, go ahead and listen to the list. Use it if you need to reference the songs that Matt and I are talking about, because half the time I have no clue what Matt is talking about with these hipster indie songs. It's been great to have you here, Matt. Once again, always a pleasure to do the show with you.
It was grand fun. Grand fun as always, Jim.
Okay, Matt, say goodbye to the people out there.
Goodbye, people. I hope you have a great day, and thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in.
Tuning in. Tune in next time.
Previously on the Jam Yearbook.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Have a great time. Peace, love, and podcast.